Remember the Galaxy Fold? Do you remember that, Will?
Yep.
It's hard to even remember it at this point because it's like you had all that hype and the hype is gone. There's no hype left. You know? For me, at least, it's like, I mean, I'll be happy if once it actually exists. I know it said it's coming and all the rest of it, but in the meantime, I mean, it's just hard to keep it rolling in your own mind as far as caring because it's like, it's a letdown. Let's be honest. It's a letdown, what it could have been, the promise, and so on. Well, here's the thing. Talk a lot on this show about that next form factor, about that next smartphone, what it's going to look like, be like. The Fold is nowhere to be found, but in the meantime, Samsung, they haven't stopped folding things, hypothetically folding. They're still folding in the background. They're folding with the patents, and we have a brand new patent emerging today. I don't know if it was today, maybe yesterday. The Galaxy Z Fold, Samsung's latest ridiculous foldable phone patent. You know what you do, Will, when you can't make an actual folding phone? You just keep patenting every other possible folding phone. Funny enough, this one, of course, you're showing the image here. When they say Z Fold, because like the shape of a Z, it's a tri-folding style. And it actually kind of makes sense, this one, because with the tri-fold, you get a more narrow, one-handed functionality, but then you get the tablet scale when you triple it out. Mm-hmm. So I actually like the look of this. That's just a render by Let's Go Digital. These guys are always on the latest patent. That's their whole thing. They're like, patent filing, we're on it. Mm-hmm. We're cook up the render.
They look good.
Stick the render in the oven. You happy with the render? Mm-hmm. Big render guy?
Yeah.
Anyway, so the way this works is the shape of a Z, when it's folded up, it's as narrow as one panel within the Z. And then when it's folded out, it's got a widescreen look similar to a typical Android tablet. This patent comes through, and it immediately gets me thinking about that Xiaomi folding design, which the CEO was holding, or the president of the company, whoever it was. And if it was a U-shape fold, but still a triple situation, I think it was the one on the right. But the problem with that particular implementation that they showed of, it was still pretty fat when it was folded up. See, look how fat that thing is. It's a weird aspect ratio. And so many manufacturers have been moving towards this, at least for standard smartphones, towards more and more narrow designs to allow the screens to scale up, but to still be functional in one hand. So maybe there's a good reason for the Z Fold patent, as they've been internally thinking about the idea of folding phones, experimenting with them, getting close. They're like, okay, maybe we'll file this one through. But to be clear, I mean, they have filed so many patents. You remember we recently talked, Will, about the rolling phone patent, where it was going to roll up to extend the display. That was fairly recent that we spoke about that. So does it mean very much, or are they just, a patent delivery design machine where it's just like, hey, we want to just get all this stuff out there. We'll probably never make it. I mean, that's quite possible. But this is the early stages. Almost every product starts out this way. And then we see what ends up happening if anything comes to fruition. It's still unfortunate we haven't seen any actual physical fold in the first version. So it makes it hard to believe that they're anywhere close on these follow-up versions. Mm-hmm. It's probably time to just deliver the actual original fold before we start thinking about the next version. But it's always interesting, if you're into these products, if you're into technology, if you're into this kind of advancement, it's interesting to think about what the current state of it is or will be soon, and then to think about possible improvements. Because when I look at this, I'm like, that, you could argue that could be an improvement on the original idea. Now, granted, you get an extra hinge in there, and it turns out it's the hinges that everybody's worried about. Now you got an extra hinge going on. Things are moving around, dust particles. Mm-hmm. And so it could be an even bigger problem than the one they can't deliver right now. But nonetheless, I like the name. Has there been a rumored Galaxy Z ever before this? Because that's got a bit of a ring to it, doesn't it? Or now, this is the first one. Originally, the Fold, people were calling the Galaxy F.
Yep.
Now, this one It looks like the speculation it could, if it ever existed, it could be called the Galaxy Fold Z or the Galaxy Z Fold. I actually just like the Galaxy Z.
Yeah.
To be honest. That's like, but where do you go after that? Well, after Z.
Got to go with the year names. Like 2019.
Oh, okay.
20.
Well, that's no fun.
2020.
That's no fun, Will.
Yeah.
You're not having fun on that. But Z, yeah, Z is the end. It's the ultimate. Maybe they could charge $3,000 for it. Who knows? Mate 30 Pro spotted in public sporting a waterfall display. This, of course, the next Huawei flagship device, Mate series. That's the big device. Previously, with the square cutout on the back for all the cameras, it looks like it's going to be circular this year based on case leaks that people have seen. That's the image we're talking about, spotted on public transport. I believe it was a subway or a train or a bus? I don't know where that is. It looks like some sort of public transport. Mm-hmm. Now, this waterfall trend, it appears it's going to be the thing, whether you like it or not, Will. It's going to happen because we talked about the waterfall. They showed it off. Who showed it off? Xiaomi?
Oppo.
Xiaomi. It's like, how does this happen? One company's like, we got the next thing. We've been in the laboratory. And then 5 minutes later, everyone else got the same thing.
Vivo's making one as well.
Vivo's got the water. I mean, everybody's got the waterfall now. So it's the next trend. You went notchless. Now you go water. You try to trim the bezel, and now trimming the bezel has gotten even more aggressive. Where you need a waterfall now because of how aggressively we're trimming this bezel these days. And apparently, according to this report, when staring at the device from the front, you have zero perception of bezel because of how far it wraps around the edge. So it looks like no bezel on the sides. Of course, guy like me, old man Lou, I start thinking to myself, where do I grip the thing, Will? Where do I hold? What am I holding?
Yeah. Inevitably, your grip, your thumb might get in the way.
I know where to put it. I mean, I can't. What am I?
You got to use like a suction cup.
I don't know what you do. I don't. Maybe people in the future, they don't even have to touch it. It's retina scan. Yeah. I mean, this person has a case on it, so I assume that's helpful. But I've talked about it. I talked about it the last time when I first saw the waterfall display concept, how it's like going back to the Samsung Edge products and all products that kind of wrap around on the side, where inevitably you're going to have certain unintended touches. You're going to have certain, where you go to scroll and it's kind of a bit wonky, and then you realize your other hand is sort of touching the edge and it's being registered. It works most of the time, but every so often it can be annoying. But I don't think that's going to matter because people are going to look at this and go, man, that looks futuristic. This is the Oppo waterfall, I suppose, that you're showing on the right-hand side. Very narrow device there. People are going to look at it and go, okay, that's the future. We've been targeting this bezel-less concept, and now we've gone a step further. And so I think people are going to think it's cool regardless because it has that futuristic vibe. Some other potential specs here for the Mate 30 Pro besides the waterfall screen, which apparently is going to fold 88 degrees on each side. The display characteristics, 6.7-inch AMOLED, and the side bezels, as I mentioned before, not even visible when viewing it from the front. The camera layout, as I mentioned earlier, likely a circular cutout with plenty of camera options on the back, including a pair of 40-megapixel cameras. Of course, this is all speculation right now. Apparently, one of those cameras will employ a 1 by 1.55-inch sensor, current sensor that's on the P30 Pro. Now, the other big piece of this puzzle with this next device is whether or not it's going to carry Android as it has in the past, or if it could employ this new Harmony OS, which if you've been reading the news, obviously Huawei claiming they could do their very own OS and then kind of backtracking that and then shipping that OS, or at least announcing that OS on their televisions, but then at the same time naming it Harmony, which would seem to imply that it's going to exist across their devices. So how ready are they? It's a lot of speculation on that front. So it's possible that this device could use, I doubt it, but it's possible it could use this next generation OS directly from Huawei, or maybe they could do a couple versions. Maybe they do a Harmony version of it and an Android version of it. The leaked photo from the public transit showcasing the waterfall, to me, that looks like pretty typical Android, at least from that distance. So that's what I envision happening. Exciting times, more smartphones to choose from. This one looks like a big deal. 6.7-inch AMOLED. What Huawei's been doing with the cameras. Mm-hmm. You got the waterfall. I don't think the waterfall is ever going to be for me, though, Will. Gotta be honest.
No, not for you.
Not for me. What about you?
I used to love it on my S6 Edge Samsung. Mm-hmm. I thought it was like a really great looking phone.
You were the coolest guy.
Yeah, it was super cool.
The coolest guy around.
But then using it was just not.
You had some of those missed touches.
Yeah, a lot of them.
Unintentional.
And, maybe like a little bit of a lip would be great, but
lip.
This is. I think it might be a little too much.
You heard it here. Willie do.
Unless there's like good software.
He doesn't mess around.
You know.
Willie do. He doesn't mess around. He'll tell you how it is, what it is, how it is, when it is, where it is.
Yeah.
All of the above. Well done. Anyway, whether you like it or not, the waterfalls are coming.
Yeah.
They're coming. Hot and heavy.
We'll see.
Remember we made that video about that little tiny phone, the Palm phone, the latest one? It was like originally supposed to be a companion for your current phone, and then it was a Verizon exclusive, and they're like, this is the weekend phone. It's the phone you use when you're sort of detoxing, when you want to be on your phone less because the screen is so tiny and it fits in your pocket or purse or whatever. When it came out, it was way too expensive for the way they were pitching it. Like, do people really have $300 for this complimentary secondary phone? $350 when it launched, although it had been on sale for around $199. But still, even there, it was kind of hard to imagine it as this extra phone, this phone that goes with your phone. It was cool to see. It was like, wow, this is a tiny little, fun little thing. And when I played with it, I actually thought the quality was kind of nice. It was tough to type on, which was kind of the proposition that they're like, well, it's a detox phone. Like, you can type on it, but we don't want you to sit on it all day. We don't want you to be addicted to it or whatever it might be. And the same thing goes for the way that the Android skin operated. It wasn't much of a skin, but it was just all very simplified. Well, I think that originally the price was too high for it to have any degree of success, in my opinion. But now there's this development in the story of this tiny little Palm phone. Apparently, you can get one now for $5 a month through a brand new partnership with U.S. Mobile, budget carrier in the U.S. Previously, it was Verizon exclusive. U.S. Mobile is one of these secondary style networks that's working on the backbone of pre-existing networks. So it's powered by Verizon and T-Mobile. And for $5 a month, you get a very basic plan for it. But here's what I'm thinking, Will. If you're a digital detox type, do you know what I'm saying? If you're trying to disconnect a little bit, if you want a more simplified smartphone life, and that's the proposition of this Palm device, then maybe you could actually get by with this base level plan as well. So here's how it works. It's called Palm Lite. It's $5 a month. It gives you 60 minutes of calls, 200 texts, and 200 megabytes of data. So it's very, very limited. But I think it's intentionally limited. Like, I think that kind of overall proposition makes sense for a device like that. Was that you at the UFC event right there, Will? Wow, what are you showcasing right now? What a throwback that was.
I don't even.
Holy moly.
I don't even know.
See how it starts to come together where you're like, okay, now maybe there's a point for this phone for certain users who don't need that much, non-power users, people who really want to disconnect. I think the product and the marketing was a bit confused in the beginning. It was like, we know you have a phone. Here's a phone for your phone. And that was the story of the thing when it first came out.
Yeah.
And that's just a weird way to sell it. But this over here now, you're like, oh, it's a phone for people who don't really want a full-on smartphone lifestyle, but still need to open maps here and there.
Yeah.
But still need to hit a text here and there. Now, I should also mention there are other plans as well. You can spend a few more bucks. You can get, look at, for $10 a month, 250 minutes of calls, 1,000 texts, and 1 gig of data. $10 a month. So it's all of a sudden kind of interesting. And I guess they give you the phone anyway, included in those deals. So now you're talking about something compelling for the little phone that could, the little engine that could?
Yeah.
It's the little Palm phone that could. It might have a shot. I mean, it's still in a limited functionality. Type of people watch this show, Will. Type of people watch this show, they're like, what are you talking about? 200 megabytes. People that watch this show, what are you talking about? 1 gigabyte. People watch this show.
Yeah.
They want heavy data use. Guy like you, Will.
Of course.
What do you got? Unlimited?
It's 4K all the time.
4K, 5G, straight to the top.
Yeah.
That's you. Okay. Well, I can appreciate that too, but I'm just saying it's kind of cool that this thing has a second shot at it. CEO OnePlus has confirmed OnePlus 7T Pro 5G. You see all that, Will?
That's a name.
Give me a run back on that. OnePlus 7T Pro 5G. Kind of feels good actually saying that. It rolls off the tongue.
It's a lot of words.
It's a lot of stuff. It's a lot of words. Well, anyway, it's crazy. We're hot off the release of the OnePlus 7 Pro, which is in my pocket. I'm going to switch to, well, I'm not going to tell you what I'm going to switch to, but I'm going to switch today probably. Today or tomorrow.
Palm phone.
Today or Monday, I should say. No, not Palm phone. How dare you? But anyway, hot off the release of the OnePlus 7, here we got Pete Lau, CEO of OnePlus, saying, hey, we're not resting. What you think, we're napping? What you think, we're eating popcorn? Nah. They're back to the next. You thought the popcorn was funny?
No, I'm just wondering,
You ever eat popcorn, Will?
Yes, it's delicious. Caramel?
Do you actually eat popcorn? You just being nice?
Yeah, Chicago mix. Bro,
Look at you. Good man. You're a decent guy, Will.
Yeah, it's great.
What do you got? You want to say something? You're all fired up over there.
No,
You're all
the
pent
T
up.
series, is it more popular than the regular ones?
I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know if they've released those figures specifically, but it's, to me, this announcement here, okay, he doesn't go into too much detail other than saying, look, we're committed to 5G. 5G is the future, and we're already planning our very next 5G phone, which is going to be better than our current one. As far as the 7T is concerned, it's pretty much all that he says about it, beyond confirming that it's going to be coming out in the alongside the regular schedule with what they would normally do with their T series devices. T series, see that?
T series.
But for me, the reason I picked this story is because it kind of highlights how crazy fast the smartphone marketplace is moving right now. Like, we're sitting there, we're goofing on it, we're talking about folding phones, and we're just casually saying, okay, here comes the Mate 30 series and so on. And it's like, here's a company that has a wildly successful device, their most successful device ever, the 7 Pro, and it's barely out there. And here we're talking about the 7T Pro. It's just crazy. And the other part of it is I look at the 7 Pro and I'm like, this phone has pretty much everything to satisfy me.
Yeah.
It's all there. So it's bezel-less display. I hardly use the front-facing camera. Not an issue to me.
90 hertz?
90 hertz. You got the fastest OLED going on. It's a great time, this phone. This is a serious thing. I'm like, what are they going to do to improve it for the 7T version? Like, imagine being in those meetings, figure out what can we add here. Yeah. It's got QHD plus resolution. It's got the in-screen fingerprint display. It's got good battery life. It's really tough to figure it out. I mean, the cameras, maybe they could improve, but on the Android side, it seems like a big part of the camera performance is software-based, because whenever I load the Google camera app from the Pixel series onto these OnePlus devices, it all of a sudden performs better. So it seems more like a software thing, to be honest. Warp charge, unbelievable. Use it all the time. Super fast charging. It's hard now. And I think this is part of the reason why we continue to talk about the softening sort of fatigue within the smartphone marketplace, is the fact that, a lot of it has to do with this factor right here. It's like, geez, man, how many people really feel compelled to upgrade, particularly when they end up with a device like this? the one that I'm currently, and I'm not suggesting that 7 Pro users are going to go buy a 7T Pro. That's crazy. Obviously, it's probably not going to be that much of an advancement, but it's like the pace, it's almost like the pace of development is outpacing demand now. We're getting things delivered so quickly and so fine-tuned that now it's like you can't drum up enough demand for these incremental improvements. Now, obviously, there are certain markets where the smartphone marketplace is less mature. You still got enough users who are going to jump into these new releases, possibly. But eventually, I think that fatigue sets in everywhere. And people have great phones that they hold on to for a longer period of time. But nonetheless, nobody's slowing down because as the competition goes up, so does the rate at which you have to keep pace.
Yeah.
So it's a crazy pace to it, Will.
What are the chances of them bringing the price down?
No. I don't see it happen. It hasn't happened yet. There's been no release where the price went down so far.
Yeah. That would be a...
In fact,
surprise.
I feel like OnePlus is really embracing its premium status. I saw them. I don't know if it was Pete or it might have been Carl tweeted out like #1 premium brand in India.
Yeah.
Like I think that if you can become premium, you do. But you're right to a certain extent, Will. You're right to the extent that it's like, can you really give up on the whole budget end, which was the origin story of the brand? They may have to have a 2-product release situation in general where one phone is not enough. And I guess that's what happened with the Pro series because there was a standard OnePlus 7 they kept for certain markets that needed it. And I know some people were upset even in the Western markets that didn't get the standard OnePlus 7 because they were like, I don't want to spend on the Pro version. I want to have that option. So we'll see what they do. Could there be 2 versions of the T series? It's possible. You could see that. And they may have to do that going forward. 2 different options. Because they gone super premium. Apple may completely change the naming scheme for its next iPhones. It's not just Apple, man. It's like every smartphone company is running into issues with their naming schemes. It's like they're running out of ways to phrase all these different models they're offering. And Apple didn't even offer that many models, but they're already bumping into issues. Like, for example, the 10R. Everyone was trying to figure out what does the R stand for? How do you describe it to people? Like, nah, get the 10R. I mean, to like an average customer, what does the R mean? What is the... Like, S was hard enough to follow at one point. When you had, like, let's say, the iPhone 6S. Okay, you got 3 things to remember. iPhone, 6, and S. Cool. Got it. And you knew that the S was the newer version of the 6 right away. And I think they said, what was it? S was speed or...
Speed.
Whatever it stood for, because it was generally a spec bump, the S model. But now, once you went to iPhone 10, which, by the way, people still call X. They don't even say 10. The other day, I'm getting ice cream, Will. I'm out getting ice cream. Is that all right with you?
Like a regular guy?
Yeah, yeah. Is that all right with you?
Never thought you would.
No. Hey. I'm getting ice cream.
What kind of ice cream?
What did I get? I think I got I got an ice cream sandwich.
Okay, classic.
But it was like a fancier ice cream sandwich. So the 2 cookies had a bit of a crunch to it. It wasn't soft. Now, granted, the soft one I'll put in the freezer. It's no problem. But I'm saying this was an upgrade, so I felt special for a minute. It had the soft serve on the inside of the 2, and it was good. Anyway. They're over in the distance as I exit the place. There is a huge group of like probably, I don't know, 13-year-old girls. There's probably like 20 of them. I don't know if they're having a birthday party. I don't know what's going on. But they're snapping photos like crazy. Like just pow, pow, pow. Like it's second nature. And I'm just there eating my ice cream sandwich as I would do, minding my business as I would do. And I overhear, no, don't take the photo on that phone. Use the iPhone X. Somebody grab the iPhone X for the photo.
Yeesh.
I don't think I did a good enough job of a 12-year-old girl's voice there, but...
Very hoarse.
Yeah, today's not my day for that impression.
Yeah.
But I was overhearing it. I'm like, man, 2 things were interesting to me. They knew that the iPhone was going to give them a better photo, and that was what mattered to them. They whatever, based on their experience, they're like, that's going to make me look beautiful. One. And two, they called it X, which I think so many people do, just regular average customers. They see an X. They don't see a Roman numeral 10. Stop it. Like, humans aren't operating that way. So anyhow, what you end up with in these in the naming convention, once you got to XS, XR, and XS Max, which is where we're at right now. Imagine that. Now you got to remember iPhone, X, S, Max. That's the one I want, Mom and Dad. Get me that one for my birthday. It gets kind of out of hand. So I guess they're trying to fix it up, but I don't know how much they're going to fix it up. This particular document suggests that we're going to end up like this. The iPhone XR will become the iPhone 11. Okay, so the budget, popular LCD version of the iPhone becomes the standard version of the iPhone. The iPhone 11 that most people will end up buying because it's easy to follow. Okay, that's the new iPhone, the iPhone 11. I'll take it. Then the iPhone XS becomes the iPhone 11 Pro. So forget about S. No one knew what it meant. No one cared. Put the Pro on there like almost everyone else is doing in the game, and indicate to people that now you're going to get OLED and you're probably going to get an extra camera or whatever other spec bump. iPhone 11 Pro. Now this is the squirreliest one. Well, when you get up to the big boy, you're going to be looking at the iPhone 11 Pro Max. Imagine, Jack, I'm like, hey man, which phone you got? You're like, this is the iPhone 11 Pro Max. I'm like, geez, take it easy, Jack. Why are you grinding your teeth? Why are you talking to me like that with your jaw clenched? Yeah, never mind if you have to mention the color. I'm currently using the rose gold iPhone 11 Pro Max. I'm like, geez, what got into you, Jack?
256.
What got into you, Jack? Yeah, Pro Max. I don't know. It's a report as it stands right now. This is coming via 9to5 Mac. Mashable posted. I think it originally started on iPhone Soft, which was a French iPhone site, Apple site. So look, it's speculation at the moment. I don't know that it's great. I like the fact that you could just have a regular iPhone 11, and everything gets weird after that. With the whole, I think I don't like the word Max. Like, maybe I prefer Plus to Max.
Pro
Plus. It's bigger. But then again, I don't know. It's hard. You start thinking about this stuff. I guess then you would have iPhone 11, iPhone 11 Pro, and iPhone 11 Pro Plus. And maybe you could just use the plus symbol. So
yeah,
I don't know. So it's less of a big deal. They obviously thought about it. They're Apple. They're smarter than us, Will. They're counting a few more dollars than we are on a daily basis. So who are we to tell them? But nonetheless, it could be a change in the naming convention on the next version of devices, and we're gonna find out real soon. Speaking of new Apple devices, Trump's tariffs are gonna start hitting Apple products on September 1st, which is actually quite soon. Obviously, if you're watching, September 1st coming right up. Now, it was kind of confusing because apparently there was a bit of a delay, a pause button that was hit by Trump on certain products from Apple, including the iPhone, where there was going to be a 2-month window where they're like, we're going to give you a break. We're not going to implement this thing immediately. And the stock market loved that. They were like, okay, thank God. It's not going to hurt sales of Apple products, or it's not going to hurt, I should say, Apple's bottom line, because presumably Apple would absorb that tariff cost immediately, possibly before or maybe in the absence completely of passing that tariff cost on to the customer. We're not really sure how that would necessarily work out. But as far as the stock market's concerned, that tariff is just value moving to the government and away from the company they're invested in. So that can't be good for them. So this 2-month thing, this 2-month window, Wall Street liked that, those that were interested in Apple. So in addition to iPhones, other Apple products are also benefiting from that tariff delay, including MacBooks, iPads, iPod Touch, Apple TV, Apple Pro Display, keyboards, and wired headphones. They're also on that pause button. But the tariff that's coming in September 1st will affect a range of Apple products, including desktop Macs, Apple Watch, AirPods, and all wireless Beats headphones, and the HomePod. So where things get interesting for me is what happens, where do they make up this cost? Do they try to keep their same profit margin and say, look, you're just going to pay 10% more for these products and it just shows up in the suggested retail price? Or do they bite down, do they eat it and say, look, we're going to chew into our own profit margins? It's hard to say, it's hard to know. You have to assume that they would love to take no extra hit and pass it on to customers, but you wonder how practical that is on products that already have well-established retail prices out there, like AirPods. Like, can you just put up the price of AirPods now? That would be weird. I wouldn't think that they would do that. So maybe on upcoming devices, they would consider that if these tariffs remain in place. The other interesting one for me that stood out was desktop Macs, because of course they announced that new crazy expensive Mac Pro, which is a desktop Mac, and a 10% extra on a big number is also a big number. So if you go up to like some of those, what could you spec out that new Mac Pro to? 20 grand? It was like 20 grand or something. Like 10% 20 grand. That's a lot. That's a big difference. That's a big extra. So it's interesting. We're going to see how it all plays out. We're going to see how long it lasts for. But as of right now, it's going into place and it's starting September 1st. We got like, you got like 2 more weeks.
Yeah.
To order up that desktop Mac, I guess. Can you pre-order it? I don't even know if you could pre-order it. Anyway.
I also heard that this statement happened yesterday. I don't know if it has to do with like tariffs and stuff, but Apple says it supports 2.4 million U.S. jobs. Just as a way of saying like, hey, you know,
we're U.S.
Like,
yeah. We're ease up, Trump. We're
help us out.
We're hiring lots of people here in the U.S. Ease up. I mean, it's a weird way to say it. Supports 2.4 million users. Does that mean they employ 2.4 million people, or they're saying like, oh, directly and indirectly responsible?
Yeah.
Okay, so they're saying a whole ecosystem around Apple supports that number. It's a big number. No doubt about it. It's a big number. But I know Trump was still angry that none of the manufacturing was happening in the U.S. And interestingly enough, I mentioned the Mac Pro. That was the one product which was actually assembled in Texas, the previous version, the trash can Mac. And then Apple was like, nah, forget that. We're going back to China for the next version. So I think that's what Trump would really like to see. At least that's what I've heard or read about. But it's true. Obviously, Apple contributing crazy amounts of revenue, crazy amounts of economic well-being to the United States. No doubt about it. No one's disputing that. Oh, by the way, they're saying app-related jobs total 1.9 million. So that's a big part of 2.4 million total. So I wonder how they're figuring out what's considered to be an app-related job. Like, I guess if you have a company dependent on the Apple App Store, you're now kind of indirectly
Apple certified like repair shop or something.
I mean, but that would be small comparative. Like, what if they're saying, hey,
Small,
everyone who works on the Spotify app for iPhone in the US is indirectly supported by Apple. Like, that's a weird way you could get to this number. I'm not saying that's what they've done here, but the app-related stuff busts out into such a complicated and sort of nuanced list there. So, you remember we were talking the other day about Tesla working on those self-driving trucks to deliver goods and how they were going to fill out some orders and they wanted the trucking business to be self-driving, autonomous. Well, it turns out it's already happening, but not with Tesla. So UPS has been delivering cargo in self-driving trucks for months now, and no one knew about it, according to Gizmodo. Now, their trucks look normal. They look like normal trucks, but they have the hardware installed to allow them to be autonomous. And if you didn't know what you were looking for, the side of the truck, it says 2 on it. 2 Simple is the name of the company. And they're a startup. They've been carrying mail across the state of Arizona for several weeks. And UPS announced on Thursday that it has made a minority investment in this company. and that they've already been hauling UPS loads between Phoenix and Tucson in these self-driving trucks. And you can actually see there's some footage here. Will's showing a video of this truck in action. Now, for the time being, obviously UPS, a big employer of drivers, and trucking in general, big employer of drivers across North America. What they're showcasing right now in the self-driving department is still a manned vehicle. The truck driver's still sitting there and watching the steering wheel as the thing sort of autonomously drives itself. Now, the way they sort of talk about these things is in the various stages. You have different stages of autonomy. As it stands right now, what you're looking at in this video is a 9-camera, 2 LiDAR system inside of this truck, and still with a person sitting behind the wheel manning it. But the partnership states that TuSimple is helping UPS understand how to get to a level 4 autonomous driving. And that level 4 is where things get real interesting, because at that point, the vehicle is fully autonomous, able to reach a particular location, and it doesn't need anybody behind the wheel. So that's some next level. Level 4 is the level where things get really weird and big giant trucks are on the road without humans.
Yeah, that's the final stage.
That's the final stage. That's the final boss.
What's Tesla at? Like, I think 2 or 3 or something?
I don't know where Tesla's at right now. You mean with the truck or with their car?
Just their regular
Oh, their
car.
regular car. You can check. As far as when I drove, it's just on the highway only. It can't get you all the way to the destination. Tesla vehicles are not considered fully autonomous level 4. Tesla vehicles are level 2, yeah. So advanced driver assistance systems. Yeah, that makes sense. Now, it's controversial, obviously, because as we've talked about in the past on this show, this profession employs a large number of people driving, truck drivers and so forth. And when you start talking about autonomous, completely autonomous, removing individuals from the vehicles completely, you're talking about a huge change to the bottom line for a company like UPS that doesn't have to pay these salaries anymore. But you're also talking about a lot of people potentially out of work that currently do this task, and you sort of wonder how people are going to respond and react. And then on the far end of it, you think about just being an average citizen and whether you're okay with the idea of these giant trucks driving beside you with nobody in the driver's seat. Level 4 autonomy. Now, for the record, you read this article here. They didn't put a time on it. They didn't say, hey, this is going to be tomorrow. The way it's being described here is that this startup is going to help UPS understand how to get to level 4. But the fact that they're currently doing these deliveries with autonomy, and they're seeing improvements, by the way, they're able to cut the average cost of shipping by 30% in these autonomous vehicles. They're more efficient. You know, they're less braking and, you know, human stuff, Will. They got it all mapped out, figured out. And you know how that goes in corporate America when you say, hey, you come into the boardroom, guy like you, with you have the shirt with the collar, but you have TuSimple over here. And you come in and you say, how would you guys like to save 30% in your bottom line next year?
Yeah.
It's starting right now. Huh?
And then I have like this billboard, and then all it says is efficiency.
Yeah!
And the arrow going up. Yeah.
No.
Clapping.
It's the squiggly line going up and just
yeah.
pointing. It goes straight to the top.
I just point to it. Everyone claps.
Yes. How'd you like me to add 30% to your bottom line right now? I want to send you in a meeting like that, Will. But anyway, you know how that goes. It's not a tough sale. You tell people that's what you're going to deliver. And the board of directors get together and go, "Now, in fact, me, let's go for it." So anyway, it's an interesting time. It's crazy. They're already doing it. If you're in Arizona and you see one of these trucks, yeah, there's a guy sitting there, but he ain't touching the steering wheel. That's pretty wild.
Sorry, I just want to take note. Like level 4 is almost there. There's a level 5, which I think is full automation and doesn't require a steering wheel. So that's like max.
No steering wheel in the vehicle.
Yeah.
Look at Willie Do adding context. It's unbelievable.
Well, this is really interesting, this site.
I
Just talks about all the
think you just
levels,
hit a home run. You knocked this one out of the park.
You know?
You just went one layer deeper. Synopsis.com if you guys want to read up on it. But yeah, there's levels to it, and they have terminology.
Oh, no. There might be 6 levels here.
Six
wait.
levels.
There's a level 0, which counts as like a number. So level 5
I see. Okay.
can be a level 6.
Gotcha.
Anyways.
There was a dude who was caught, man caught on highway playing Pokemon Go on 8 phones. Now, I know Vin likes this type of story because he's a big Pokemon Go guy. Every time somebody gets caught playing Pokemon Go, he thinks it's hilarious. Well, I didn't even know people were still playing this game. Well,
It's big, man.
No, the hype. I remember the hype. When it came out, I remember.
Still going.
It's still going. As far as you know, it's still going.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know anyone in real life that's playing this game?
Maybe Kirk?
Get out of here.
No.
Kirk is still playing Pokemon Go?
Sorry, Kirk.
I don't know. Let me tell you something.
Not a lot of
when it was at its peak, it was wild, man. Everybody in the street, everyone's looking at their phone. It was crazy. Well,
Yeah.
for this guy, this dude on the highway, it's still crazy. He was in Washington, and he was on the side of a very busy highway, State Route 518 near the airport. And Trooper Rick Johnson, of the Washington State Patrol, he pulled up alongside it because it's unusual to see a car parked on the side of a busy highway. And when he approached, he noticed these 8 devices sitting on it. And look, it looks like he's got a special contraption with cutouts for each phone. He's got like a grid that the phones fit in so he can be actively playing them all on the passenger seat. This guy. And so he's got the 8 phones laid out, and they're all logged into Pokemon Go. And the sergeant walks up. He's like, "What are you up to, man? What's going on here on the side of a busy highway in broad daylight? Like, what has to happen in your life, Will, that this ends up? This is what, like if I imagine, Will, I see you on the side of the road, and I'm like, hey, that's Willie Do. Let me go check on him. And you're doing something like this. What should I do? What should my response? Do I need to do you need help? Do I have to talk to some people?
You would probably have to drive away because I would have to defend these Pokemon.
Is that how it works?
Things. Yeah, you have to defend your Pokemon area.
So you would just scream at me, "Get out of here! I don't need your help."
I apologize, I don't know the term, but yeah, you're supposed to battle other people.
Right. Okay.
And defend your.
But why is he on the side of the highway? Can you tell me that?
I think there's like a spot there that either there has to be like a rare Pokemon that he has to catch, or he has to be there for other people to battle him.
Well, the reason I'm saying that my brother loves this story is because a while back he sent me this story of this guy in a nearby neighborhood who was driving around in circles in like a Mercedes or a BMW or something. Yeah. And the cops were in the helicopter, and they're like, "We don't know what this guy's up to." Because he was going around within this neighborhood in circles. They're like, it's got to be a criminal. He's looking to do some trouble right now because it was so sporadic and unusual, the behavior. They hadn't seen it before. I think it was on City News. And so the cops got the helicopter on the guy, and then you can hear the call. They actually published the phone call, or I guess the radio transmission between the cops. They're like, we got to... presumably the man is he says he's playing Pokemon Go, sir, sergeant, whatever it might be. And so it's obviously not the first time. This type of stuff happened all over the world. And I mean, it's an interesting topic in the sense that they hide these things all over the real world. And look, here's a guy playing in a car right here. World's #1 Pokemon Go player.
Yeah, he has like a crazy regimen. I watched this video like a year ago. It's
So you got a lot of people driving around trying to play.
Stand around and they catch Pokemon.
I just thought people weren't doing it anymore. That's just what I thought, but apparently not. This guy is still into it, and he's going 100%. He's going 100% after it still, and he's on the side of the highway. Anyway, last one for me. Did you hear? You heard about this vehicle called the Kitty Hawk Flyer? Did you remember that? It's like a boat plane, drone-looking thing that you actually sit in.
Okay.
And, I mean, it looks super cool. And it's kind of like as if I guess you have to take off and land on water, which limits it in a way to where you would who would own one of these. You have to have access to water, obviously, but you see it in the air. That looks futuristic. Does that look cool to you, Will, or what?
Yeah, it's personal.
I don't know. You might
You can't have a lot of those like
up there at the
around.
same time, over the
Yeah.
lake at the same time. Yeah, it could get dangerous.
Kind of dangerous, but it's kind of cool if you have a lot of money to spend and you have like a giant lake.
Yeah, why not? I mean, everybody's got a jet ski. I mean, you take it a step further, all of a sudden you're flying around. Anyway, there's some news here. Apparently, it has now flown over 25,000 times. And it's actually got some legit backing. The company is led by former Google self-driving car visionary Sebastian Thrun. And he's pretty happy that they flew it 25,000 times. No problems. Nobody killed. Nobody hurt. And so on. It's one of 2 aircrafts that they're working on, including an autonomous taxi that they're also working on. So they're interested in the autonomous potential aspect as well. They claim, Will, that this Kitty Hawk flyer, that anyone with 0 experience can learn to fly it in 15 minutes. Now, that's a very short period of time, and I don't know if it makes you nervous. It makes me kind of nervous.
We should get one at the studio.
Imagine giving somebody that, giving anyone one of those within 15 minutes. Like, someone's got to slam their heads into the lake. I don't know.
Right in there.
That said, with all those propellers on it, kind of like a drone or whatever, it looks like it's doing a lot of the work to maintain the balance and to kind of keep things in order. I don't know. The way it looks when it's flying, it looks pretty sturdy, but nonetheless, you got these propellers spinning super fast. Sure, someone can get hurt. So anyhow, this is a feat for them in the right direction. And maybe it's an indication that we're closer than we think when it comes to. Would you consider that a flying car? No.
No,
It's a flying boat, I guess.
You got to park it in the parking lot.
Okay, so it's a flying boat, but it's
But
one
very
step.
impressive.
It's one step closer to a flying car, which was promised to us.
Yep.
I don't know if you remember. It was promised to us once upon a time.
Would you fly this?
Yeah, I give it a shot.
Okay.
I don't think I'd buy one because it's only a matter of time.
I'm gonna talk to these guys.
Oh, okay. See what's up. Let me fly one of those. Anyway, that's it for me. What do you got? You got any hot stories, Will?
Okay. Well, speaking of flying, we have a Tokyo hotel that has a flight simulator in it. If you decide to rent this room, which is right next to the Hanada airport, you can actually rent it and have flying lessons.
Wow.
So,
For the record, everyone, we're not talking about a flight simulator like you put on a VR headset. We're talking about
this is a full-on...
a realistic cockpit.
Yep.
It's massive.
And
it's as big as the hotel room.
Yep, it's in your room. The bed is literally right beside the cockpit. And you can actually hire a pilot and you can co-pilot it.
Right.
Guess,
I see the simulator aspect. So where the windows would normally be, this is like a high-end flight simulator.
Yeah.
Where the windows would normally be, their screens, and like the aspect ratio, everything's lined up perfectly. So it looks like you're looking out. I mean, it's a high-end simulator. Now, they say you can stay there for $232 a night.
And you can hire an instructor for a 90-minute block for $275.
You know what?
And he can teach you how to fly.
That's not terrible.
It's not bad.
Wow. Not something I would expect to see at a hotel.
No.
When you look at the picture here, the whole thing feels very odd because it would be tough to relax in the bed next to that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just very aggressive.
It's just crashing into a mountain.
I don't know. It's just very aggressive to sleep in a bed next to it. I just feel like there's heat coming off it, and some of those gauges got to be humming and buzzing. But
it's like red alert.
That said,
alert while you're sleeping.
If you're an aviation enthusiast, that could be a cool experience.
Mm-hmm.
Couple of yen, pay a couple yen to stay there. Plus, you're at the terminal. So there's an aviation aspect because you're at the airport, like it's a hotel, it's an airport hotel. So every time you think you thought of everything, all you have to do is go to Japan,
Yeah.
and it's something.
They bring it up like a different bar.
It's like something you didn't think there was any need for at all, and you're like, oh, okay, well done.
Normal hotel room and then a cockpit.
Yeah, yeah.
just-
It's right. That's right. It's worth noting that the hotel room is incredibly normal. It's not like the whole thing feels like a theme park. The rest of the hotel room is just like every other hotel room in the hotel. Then it's just got the cockpit as well.
And it's not for kids either, the cockpit. It's
Yeah.
literally a legit cockpit.
Yeah,
So
it's pretty wild.
there's that.
Anyway. All right. Well, as usual, we saw it all. We said it all. There's no words left. 25,000 times the Kitty Hawk is going to be the future of flying cars. Very exciting. Pokemon Go still exists. UPS further along with self-driving trucks than we would have imagined. Trump tariffs about to hurt the bottom line on your brand new $20,000 Mac Pro. Get ready for the iPhone 11 Pro Max because Jack's going to have one and he's only going to speak to you through his teeth with his jaw clenched once he gets one. OnePlus is not slowing down. The 7T is about to replace your 7T Pro, and then now your OnePlus 7 Pro is obsolete as of today, unfortunately. The Palm phone still exists. Huawei's got the waterfall going on, and the story off the top, the Samsung Galaxy Z is your futuristic tri-folding smartphone that will never happen. At least probably not anytime soon. It's another episode. It's another day. Have a great time. Have a nice weekend. Go outside.